Hello everyone, I'm Pierrette and welcome to my kitchen. Today, for my friend Nina, I am making her very favorite chocolate cherry brownies. So we're gonna start with the cherry part first and then we'll move over to the brownies. The first step is to take some cherries. You can either buy them in the jar, unsweetened. Trader Joe's used to sell them. They don't sell them anymore. We should all protest. So we're gonna take these frozen cherries, which have been defrosted, and put them in a nice hot pan. And the goal of this is to thicken this up so it's sort of like a cherry pie filling. I'm gonna do 2 tablespoons of sugar, and we'll mix that in and see how it tastes, but that's usually enough sugar for the whole batch. You want it to be kind of tart. You don't want it to be super sweet because you do have the brownies and those have sugar in them as well. So, perfect. We'll let that thicken up. I'm gonna mix up some cornstarch and water. Take a heaping tablespoon of cornstarch and put it in our jar with some very, very cold water. You can see it starts out very glue-like, but the water has a very quick effect, and before long it's just looks like milk almost. You want to scrape around the edges and make sure you get all of the cornstarch out of the bottom, and now you have a nice white liquid. And our cherries are bubbling and ready to mix. So we'll zoom in so you can see a little better. Let me turn on this light. That'll help too. So I'm just pouring in a little bit at a time. It starts out sort of milky looking, and you can tell when it's worked its way into the sauce by the fact that it turns a rich red color again and the white vanishes. And that's it. We only had to add a couple of tablespoons of the liquid mixture, the water and cornstarch, and that looks perfect. So we're gonna turn that off and let it sit, and now we're gonna pay some attention to our brownies. So follow me over here. So I'm just gonna put the chocolate chips in the microwave with the 2 sticks of butter, and we're gonna set it 20 seconds at a time and pull it out and stir it because we don't want to let the microwave burn the chocolate. So this is after 2 sets of 20 seconds. I'm going to stir the butter into the chocolate chips. The goal is not to let it go long enough that the chocolate melts from the heat of the microwave, but that it melts from the heat of the butter. So I'm just mixing up the butter with the chocolate chips, and you can see that the chocolate chips are still pretty solid. So we're gonna put it back in the microwave for about another 20 seconds. We're gonna keep checking it every 20 seconds. So this is another 20 seconds in. This is our third 20-second break, and you can see every single time we pull it out, the chocolate is melting more and more. So now we're ready for the next step with our brownies. We have already taken 2 sticks of butter and 12 ounces of chocolate chips and melted them in the microwave until they're nice and creamy. And then we let them sit because we need this to be room temperature. The next step is to take 4 eggs, also room temperature. And we have 1 1/4 cups of packed brown sugar. We're just gonna dump that into the mixer and hit mix. Now this needs to go for a little while. The eggs need to be very well blended. The whole point of this part of the process is that when your brownies are finished, you want that beautiful, shiny, crunchy looking layer on the top. This is the most important step for that to happen. We have to mix the sugar into the eggs until it's well dissolved, and that's what makes the difference in that finished crunchy layer on the brownies. So I'm gonna start the mixer and we'll check back in a minute. I just wanted to show you how the viscosity of the eggs and the brown sugar have changed. It It's been beating for about 2 minutes, and you can see how velvety and thick it is. And you no longer see obvious evidence of brown sugar granules. It really looks like it's blended well. So I think we're just about ready to add the rest of our ingredients. So all in all, we whipped the eggs and the brown sugar for about 3 to 3.5 minutes. And now we are going to incorporate the chocolate mixture, which was 12 ounces of chocolate chips, semi-sweet chocolate chips. You could use bitter if you wanted to. I personally don't care for super dark chocolate. I always say the only thing that makes dark chocolate taste better is milk and sugar. Crack myself up all the time. Anyway, we're gonna slowly add this mixture into our eggs. All right. A little bit more scrape. Get all the chocolate off the spatula that we can. And one more mix. So the last part's really easy. We're just gonna take, we have 2/3 of a cup of all-purpose flour, and I added 1/3 of a teaspoon of baking powder because we're gonna be adding the cherries to it, which is gonna make the batter even a little heavier. So I wanted to give the brownies a little bit of a different texture and not make them quite so heavy and muddy. So we're just gonna pour this in. So we prepared our brownie pan. We put parchment paper going in opposing directions. So first I trimmed it to the width and did it lengthwise. And you put a little bit of oil or butter on the bottom to help the paper stick to the bottom of the pan while you're brushing it with butter on the next layer. And then we did the other one going in the other direction. And I'm using a 13x9 pan for this instead of a 9x9 because we're also going to be adding the cherries to it. And by the time we're done, I don't think that a 9x9 pan will be enough to hold the volume of brownies and cherries that we're going to have here. So I'm just mixing these. I'm just pouring these into the pan. Put this around the pan. Just smooth it all out so it's evenly distributed. This looks really beautiful. This batter is gorgeous. There we go, just running around the outside edges one more time. Now, when you bake things, typically the center of them will raise higher than the outside edges. So it's not uncommon to make a small concave section in the middle of your cake or your batter, but brownies don't typically raise as high as cakes do. So this is what it looks like so far. I'm gonna grab the cherries and we'll show you what to do with those, and then we'll pop them in the oven. So remember those cherries that we made into sort of a pie filling? We're gonna take that now, and I just take a big dollop, a spoonful, and I spread them around on top of the brownies, here and there, over the surface. So now I'm gonna take my spoon, and couldn't help it, had to taste it. I'm gonna take it and just kind of swirl through the brownies so that the batter gets mixed in a little bit into the brownies, but not so much that it's mixed in. We still kind of want those big dollops of batter and big dollops of cherries. So I didn't want to mix them in entirely. I want more of a swirl through it. And now we're gonna pop these in the oven, and I'm guesstimating that this is gonna be about 35 minutes. The oven has been preheating at 350 degrees. So we're gonna pop it in the oven and see how long it takes. I don't know if you can hear that, but apparently Bear is very excited about the brownies. So we took our brownies out of the oven and they have been cooling. They're just about room temperature. I think we cooked them for about 40 minutes. And what you see, the darkness on top is from the cherries being mixed in a little bit, but they really do look pretty good. So I'm gonna just chop them up into pieces and put them on a serving platter. I'll show you how we serve them here. Sometimes with whipped cream, sometimes with ice cream, but they are definitely a decadent treat, especially with all those big chunks of cherries. So when I checked them, I'd like to point out the skewer is just a little bit dirty still from the dough, the batter. And that's, if you want them to be a little bit chewy and soft, that's what you want. If you want them to be a little more cake-like, then you'd want to leave them in for just a little while longer. So I'm just going to cut these up. And we'll put them on the serving platter with a little bit of whipped cream in between. Piece just for good luck. And that is a pretty decadent looking dessert. Brownies with cherries distributed through the inside and a little bit of whipped cream or ice cream on top. And I think you're gonna love these. Please, if you enjoy our recipes, make sure and subscribe and tell your friends. And hit the like button, and we'll see you soon. Take care.